Hello, everybody. Welcome to World Monologue Games 2023. This is our first activity for the year, so the new season is open. Welcome, welcome. My name is Pete Malicki. I am the creator of World Monologue Games, and this is our info session. So I will now be talking through all of the ins and outs of how WMG works this year. For those of you who've done World Monologue Games in the past, it will be quite similar. There won't be any major seismic shifts, but there will be a few differences which you might be interested in. So definitely worth just tuning in and getting a refresher if nothing else. I'm just going to run through a bit of an overview about the games and what we're trying to do and who we are, and then I'll run through all of the various components. There's a lot to go through, just the mechanics of the festival, the event and how it works, the deadlines, what kind of script you can perform, the rules, categories, prizes, lots and lots of stuff. So let's dive on in and start talking through it. So this is an acting event and showcase World Monologue Games. We broadcast quite a few hundred performers every season. This is our fourth year. We're very excited to have made it this far. Very often events pop up for 1 or 2 or 3 years. I think when you hit the fourth year, you know that you're doing something right. It's people are still engaged with it. It's growing. It's a great thing to make it this far. So we're really excited to be in year 4. We've live streamed over 500,000, well, to 500,000 viewers rather than 500,000 performers or anything like that. And our key kind of ethos is that we treat everybody as equals at World Monologue Games, and we try to give as many performers around the world as possible the opportunity to participate. And a couple of key ways that we do that are, one, giving everybody a free entry. So no matter what your financial circumstances are, or no matter what the economy of the country you live in is like, you can still afford to submit at least once. And we also de-emphasize the AV quality of your submissions. So while of course it does matter, we do need to be able to see you and hear you clearly, we don't have video production as part of the judging criteria in any way. So if you can't afford a lovely camera or a nice phone with all the modern quality standards that your typical iPhone 15 or whatever we're up to nowadays has, then again you can still participate as an equal. So this is really, really important for us, that everybody can take part, no matter who you are, no matter what you look like, what your beliefs are, where in the world you are, all of that stuff. You are all equals at World Monologue Games. So a little bit about me. I have a very, very deep and broad background in the creative industries. Started as a writer, became a producer, director, literary manager, editor. Like, I've done dozens of different things. I've run festivals before, which kind of got me into into the position to be able to set up something like World Monologue Games. And I've done a lot of different things, both creatively and in my professional life. But I am now running Undo Redo Entertainment, an entertainment company that has 8 different brands underneath it, including World Monologue Games and the Monologue Project, which is kind of like the sister company to WMG. And the Monologue Project provides scripts for World Monologue Games, some of which are free as well. So anyone who wants a script and doesn't have one, we've got about a dozen short pieces on our website and a few longer ones. Lisa Nguyen is the 2IC the second in command at World Monologue Games and also Undo Redo Entertainment. We run these ventures together. She's our finance director and continuous improvement specialist, and my wife. So a little bit of history about World Monologue Games. We set up in 2020 when the global pandemic hit, and it was very evident that actors and creatives and filmmakers were about to have a lot of time on their hands and not very much to do. So I very quickly pivoted an idea of just an online competition, just like simply sending in a video and looking for the world's best audition monologue. It was going to be into a whole event. So that's why we exist. In the last 3 years, we have had over 8,000 performers from 100 countries around the world register, which is pretty staggering if you think about it. It's like more than half of the world's countries and quite a lot of people. 8,000 is a huge number. And we have platformed over 1,000 different performers in our year. So that's 1,000 different actors who've been broadcast as part of a World Monologue Games event. Over 500,000 views on our various events. We've had over 200 media articles and radio bits and even TV in 25 countries. And we offer some cash prizes and other cool prizes for our winners, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So let's talk about how World Monologue Games works. So there are 3 phases or stages to the event. We have the qualifiers, which is happening right now as people are making submissions, because submissions are currently open. We have the regional finals, and we have the global finals. In the qualifiers, you can select one of 6 categories to perform in. If you're under the age of 18, you're either a tiger, which is 5 to 11 years old, and you only have one category as a tiger, which is 1 to 2.5 minute monologue. If you are 12 to 17 years old, you are in the youth category, and again, that is a 1 to 2.5 minute monologue. As an adult, 18 plus, there's no further differentiation. So if you're 18 plus, that's it. There's no mature age category or anything like that. There is the main amateur category and the main professional category. These are both 1 to 2.5 minutes. The distinction is the main amateur category are for performers who identify themselves as being an amateur, and the main pro category is for performers who consider themselves to be professional. What that means, we leave it up to the performers. So we don't means test it in any way. We just let people submit into whatever category they think that they're most comfortable with. Of course, the main pro category is more prestigious and has better prizes, better prize money. But otherwise, they're more or less the same thing. They've got the same parameters, the same rules. The only restriction we do have on that is if you have made it to the global finals in the main amateur category in the past, we force you to go into the main professional category in the future. And obviously, if you've been in the main pro category and reached the regionals or the globals, then you need to stay in the main pro category. But so far, I don't think anyone has gone from pro to amateur. And there's also a couple of other categories. There's sprint, which is 45 to 60-second monologues. And then there is endurance, which are for 5 to 10-minute monologues. So they're quite epic. You have to perform in one continuous take at World Monologue Games. I'll talk about that a little bit more in 10 or 15 minutes. So it's quite a challenge to do the endurance, the 5 to 10 minutes. We would love to see more sprint entries. I'll just put that on the table right away. We don't get as many sprint entries as we'd like. We get a lot of all of the other categories, but for some reason we just don't get a huge number of sprinters. So please do consider submitting a sprint submission this year. We do allow performers to submit multiple times in multiple categories, but if you want to do more than one submission, you have to purchase extra submissions, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Now, what happens is all of the performers submit their monologues into the qualifying rounds, and once the deadlines have all closed, we send the videos out to our judging panel. You can see our judging panel on the website, and basically what happens is the judges review all of the submissions at this stage, and they give them a rating between 1 and 5, based on some criteria that we provide to the judges. Then we look at the average score of all of the judges who've looked at each performer, and we use that score as basically the final score for that submission. And quite simply, we put all the high rated submissions through to the regional finals. Now, what that score will be out of 5 depends on a few factors. So if we have quite a lot of submissions, that doesn't actually necessarily mean that the standard um, of acceptance into the regionals just gets like more and more competitive, because depending on the area where everyone is from, their countries, pardon me, we might just put more performances through into the regionals. So we'll do different numbers of shows depending on how many quality submissions we get. So it's more about rather than saying, okay, well, everyone who gets an average score of 3.5 out of 5 or higher goes into the regionals. We do look at the overall number of submissions and quite a lot of factors. We don't provide those scores to you anyway, so maybe I'm just talking about our own processes. But anyway, a bit of an insight. So those people who make it through to the regional finals, they need to do another submission, because we want to make sure that the viewers are always getting a unique experience. We don't want our viewers to just be watching a show that has all the qualifiers that they may have already seen before in it. We always want our viewers to have a unique experience with every event. So every time we have a new event, no one has seen that content before. Now, we have always live streamed our regional finals and our global finals. Probably the biggest difference at WMG 2023 is this: we will not be live streaming the regional finals this year. We're going to be doing it as a YouTube premiere. Now, the reason is because we like to just create a bit more of a differentiation between the regionals and the globals. And we experimented with this with World Monologue Film Festival to see how our audiences would respond to a premiere as opposed to a live stream. And actually, there is not really a significant difference. We had the same amount of engagement, the same number of viewers as when we'd done live streams compared to when we did the premiere. So as well as a few other benefits, such as the premiere has a higher quality. When you're live streaming, you just have a bit of a loss of video and sound quality, because your computer is playing the video off your, it's playing it from a video file, and then the streaming software is capturing it and sending it to YouTube. And that's just slightly lower quality than just simply uploading the full HD video into YouTube. So we just like to experiment this year and see how we go without live streaming the regionals. So they will now be premieres instead of live streams. The global finals are for the best performers according to the judges and viewers from the regional finals. So these are all judged shows. We pick, depending on the category, how many performers there are, how many different shows there are. We'll pick anywhere between, say, I don't know, two and 6 performers from each show to go through into the global finals, but usually about three or 4 from each show. And the global finals are basically the best of the best. These will be live streamed, so we will we'll run through with the global finalists exactly how that process works. But these will be live stream shows on YouTube, and there will be 6 of them, one for each of the categories. The global finals are also judged. There we have the viewers who are able to vote and judges who will pick their top 3 for every category. And basically the performer with the highest number of judges' points wins. It's quite as straightforward as that. We have a few different schemes at World Monologue Games. So we have the rankings scheme, and essentially what this is think it's a bit like the tennis. You get a ranking every time you reach the regional finals or beyond at World Monologue Games. So if you were in the regionals last year, you get some points towards your overall ranking. And if you made it through to the globals, then you get even more points. And if you've been in World Monologue Games in the past, you also carry over some of the points from those past performances, those past seasons, but not as many as the most recent season. So it's a diminishing number of points that you carry across from year to year. Now, we actually only retain 3 years worth of points. So if you were in World Monologue Games 2020 and you're participating again this year for the first time in a few years, you will not carry any points over from the year 2020 because that is 3 seasons ago. So you're only getting the points from this year, 2023, the points from last year, 22, and the points from the year before. That's 3 seasons, 21. Yeah, and that's basically how the rankings work. It's very, very complex maths that goes behind it, but that's a bit of an overview. We also have achievement badges. So there's lots of different achievements you can pull off at World Monologue Games. So we have, oh gosh, I don't know, about 16, 17 badges, something like that. There are some sort of relatively easy ones, like we have the finisher badge, which is for anyone who makes X number of submissions. I think once you've made 10 submissions into the games, you get the bronze finisher badge. And once you've made 20 submissions over the years, so not necessarily in one season, then you get the silver finisher badge. And we have all sorts of different achievements based on just a whole range of scenarios. So if you make it through to the global finals, you could earn a badge based around that. And if you make it through to the globals in multiple categories in 1 year, there's a special badge. Or if you get into the globals 3 years running, that kind of thing. Yeah, we've got a stack of different badges, so you can check them out on the website. I'm looking up at my other monitor here. I don't have that page of the website open, but yeah, that's something to look into. We also have a challenges program. I'm not sure if I plan to talk about that at the end. Maybe not, but anyway, we have a challenges program which is currently ongoing, pardon me, throughout 2023. One event I will talk about just briefly is Last Man Standing, which starts in November. And essentially, every day at midnight Sydney time, you are emailed a new script and you have 24 hours to learn, film, and submit that monologue as a video. It's pretty intense, and we had a very enjoyable season last year, so we're bringing Last Man Standing back this November. But you can find out more about that on our website. So let's talk about deadlines. We have the early bird submissions next week, 7 days from this broadcast. That is on Tuesday, the 13th of June at 11:59 p.m. AEST, Australian Eastern Standard Time, which is the time zone for Sydney, Australia, as well as a few other major Australian cities like Canberra and Melbourne and Brisbane. So what the early bird deadline means is if you submit a monologue to World Monologue Games and put it on YouTube and get 200 or more views before the deadline, then we give you an extra free entry. There are some more parameters just in terms of the naming and the text description. So just if you're interested in trying to get an extra entry, please check that information out. It's in our emails, it's on our website. It's pretty easy to find. we have our main deadline on the 4th of July. So it's about 4 weeks. I think it's 4 weeks exactly from today. And after the 4th of July, all of our free entries are cancelled. So if you've received, everybody receives a free entry when they sign up, but after the 4th of July, if you haven't submitted, those entries are basically deleted. We have a late deadline 3 weeks after that on the 25th of July, and that's where you can submit for a small entry fee. If you purchase an additional entry before the deadline, or if you receive an additional entry through doing the early bird special, all of your submissions, including your free one, will be available up until the late deadline. So you also buy yourself a little bit of extra time. So like if you've only got the one free entry and it comes to the 3rd of July, the day before the deadline, you say, you know what, yeah, I'm going to give the games a go. You buy another entry, then you'll have 2 submissions, and both of those are available up until the late deadline on the 25th of July. But if you don't do anything after the deadline, if you just have that one free entry after the deadline, it's gone and you can't use it anymore. You can still purchase a late entry. Hope that all makes sense. Now, let's talk about what you can perform. You can perform any monologue at all. You can write one, you can find one, you can devise one, whatever it is. However, you do need to have permission from the copyright owner. So this is just copyright law internationally. If you want to use someone's work, you need to get permission. That's the law pretty much everywhere in the world, and we need to uphold it, because if you use a piece that's in copyright, if you use it without permission, then the author can have the event removed. We cannot have that. We can't have a copyright claim and having one of our events being cancelled, obviously. Plus, it is a courtesy to the writer that you ask them permission to use their work. That is it's basic courtesy. For any writer will appreciate it very much when you actually ask permission rather than just using their work without asking, because that's what copyright law is for. So there's a few things to bear in mind around this. If the work can be out of copyright, which is basically when the author passes away, 75 years after their death, the work is now out of copyright and anyone can use it. So all of the classics from, before whatever that is, 1948 or something like that, any script that's written before that and the author died before 1948, you're able to use it. So you might just need to look it up on a case-by-case basis if you're looking for scripts. If you want to use something from a movie or a play or something like that, you can, but you do need to get permission from the copyright owner. Again, this is just copyright law. We're just trying to comply with it. What else can you perform? It can be any style. It can be a film script. It could be a theatre script. It could be Shakespeare, a classic, or something totally different. That's fine. We do have rules around not being able to like having to have one continuous take. You can't have other performers in the shot or audible off screen as well. So it's just you. You're the only person on or off screen. There's no warm bodies, no extras, nothing like that. It's a monologue competition. It is all about you, just one actor. We do have a rule that you cannot perform anything about coronavirus or the pandemic. Why? Because this is all we heard about in the world for years and we're bored of it, so we just ban it. But otherwise, your content can be absolutely anything. Yes, you can swear. Yes, you can have adult themes. As teams, you can do the same. We'll provide content warnings for every show because you just never know what you're going to get. The Tigers don't tend to, have adult content, the 5 to 11-year-olds. But yeah, basically that's it. If you're not sure, please feel free to reach out to us and we can clarify and answer your questions. I mentioned the Monologue project has some scripts for free, so you're very welcome to use those. If you go to monologues.com.au, Lisa will just put a link in the chat for us there. There's like I said, 12 audition length scripts, or like kind of 1 to 4 minute scripts available for free, and there's hundreds of other ones that you can either purchase individually or within publications. Any of the scripts on our website you're able to use without getting permission. I wrote all of them, and I am giving everybody permission upfront now, so please just use those for the games. You don't need to let me know or ask as a courtesy. The answer is yes. Um, what else have I got? We have an emphasis on entertainment value at World Monologue Games. So what I mean by that is thinking about the viewers and the viewers' experience. Other than the fact that there's a viewer vote, so you can get some points from the viewers and potentially make your way through to the global finals or onto the podium based off those viewer votes. Um, we want to make sure that this event is enjoyable to watch. And there's certain kinds of monologues and there's certain styles of acting which maybe appeals to the people who work within the industry a little bit more, but probably aren't that accessible for the general public. So because we are broadcasting to the general public, which is the reason why this event has value, because we get a lot of viewers, we want to care about those viewers. We want to make sure that they are going to enjoy the work. Now, when I say entertained, I don't just mean it's like slapstick or stupid comedy or anything like that, but it just means thinking about those kinds of monologues where, particularly where they're really sort of like crying for 2 minutes and just showing off how much you as an actor can just like cry or go into those sad emotions, but then kind of nothing much happens and there isn't much of a story. It's more of a showpiece for you as an actor to say, hey, look, these are the emotions that I can do and I can go really deep. But the script is boring and there's nothing really to enjoy. I discourage you from those kinds of pieces. It's not to say that you can't do anything that's kind of those sad or negative emotions. You absolutely can. Just make sure there's something in it for the viewers as well. We do ask our judges to evaluate the entertainment value or the value that the viewers may have. So please bear that in mind. This is a show. It is made for viewers at the end of the day, and we want to put a little bit of thought into how much the average person will enjoy the event, not just actors, other actors, or casting directors, etc. We do have 6 casting directors on the judging panel again this year, which is pretty good, as well as lots of other industry pros. Like I said, you can see who they are on the website. Not all of the judges share their bios with us, but many of them do. So let's talk about a few other sort of rules around submissions as well. Um, your monologue must have been filmed for World Monologue Games this year. So you can't submit old monologues that you put up on YouTube in the past. This is meant to be an event that is current, and it's not just about submitting your favorite self-tape that you did 5 years ago and trying to get some success from that. So the monologue must be published after the 2nd of May. The 2nd of May is when we open submissions. If you have a monologue you'd like to submit, but you did it before then, you're just going to have to refilm it and re-upload it and resubmit it to World Monologue Games. Also, do bear in mind that we do check people's social media accounts and their YouTube accounts, and we look to see what they've done in the past and to see whether or not they are trying to sneak in an old piece of work. And we have caught a few people and quietly disqualified those submissions. So make sure it has been done and posted to YouTube after the 2nd of May, and then you're good as gold. Now, you might have noticed that you can choose to represent hang on one sec, sorry. You can choose to represent. Here's our website. This is our member site. I'll give you a bit more of a tour in a moment. But you can choose which country you want to represent. So here on the member homepage, yeah, you can go through and select your country. Now, sometimes people ask us, well, who do I represent? Is it the country I was born in, or the country that I live in, or the country my parents are from? The answer is it's up to you. You can represent whichever country you would like to represent. Whatever feels feels right to you, whoever you think you should be representing. Again, we don't means test that. You'll notice that this information here on the screen, hang on, I'm trying to highlight it. There we go. All of this stuff. Once you have selected those details and made your first submission, you cannot update it anymore. And the reason is because if you make multiple submissions, you cannot choose to represent Bangladesh for your first submission and then Australia for your second submission, because performers are split up into regions, and that is based on the country and the city that you have chosen to represent. So you can only represent one country. Therefore, make sure you select this information in advance prior to your first submission, and then your subsequent submissions will all carry this same information through. You'll also see we have some partners here. You can choose to represent these schools or agencies or other events. If they are on this list, then they are our partner, and you can represent them if you so choose. Please be careful about this. Don't represent somebody that you're not formally affiliated with, because we do check with the partners, and sometimes we have to remove people who've selected the wrong thing. If you have an agent, or you go to a school or anything like that where you think they might be interested in being represented, please get them to contact us. The owner of that business, or the agent, or whoever it is, they can contact us and we can talk to them about setting them up as a partner. It is a bit of work from our end to set them up in our system, so it doesn't happen just instantly. But if your agency, your acting school, your coach, your teacher, whoever it is, if they're interested in being a partner, please get them to sign up. They just need to contact us. Okie dokie. Here's my face again. So, categories, I've already talked about those. There is information on our homepage and on the member website. So I'll just say this one other little bit of information about it. When you're preparing your monologue, when you're putting it up on YouTube, if you are under the age of 18, it must be unlisted on YouTube. Unlisted, not private, not public. Unlisted means that you cannot see the video without the link, and this is for child protection reasons. We want to make sure that no child, no under 18-year-old is forced to share their video. So it can only be seen by World Monologue Games staff and judges. Now, if you choose to promote it, that's up to you. You won't be disqualified if other people have seen your video if you're under 18, but we leave that up to the parents to make that decision. We're just not forcing anyone to share. Conversely, if you are an adult, 18 plus, if you're entering the main pro or the main amateur, sprint or endurance categories, it must be public, because those submissions are part of the event. If you are taking part in World Monologue Games, you can go onto YouTube and just search for World Monologue Games, and you'll find other submissions. And it's a good fun thing to do. You can see what other performers are doing for the event. So we do require you as an adult to make your submission public, not unlisted, not private. It must be public. Okie dokie. What else might I say? Camera wise, you can have camera movement, or it can be static. Either way, it doesn't matter, but it must be one continuous shot, so you can't cut at all. You can cut the beginning and the end off your monologue. So if you're, that thing where you reach forwards and, press the record button near the camera at the start and the end, feel free to get rid of that. We don't need to see that. But yeah, you can't have any cuts in the during the performance. So please make sure it's one continuous shot. If there's a cut, it's an instant disqualification straight away. Just do consider the just the audio quality in particular, making sure that he says holding the microphone closer to his face. Just make sure you can that people can hear you clearly. When you put a camera or a phone on a tripod and you go on the other side of an echoey room when there's background noise, it's really hard to hear and it's very difficult to appreciate. Even though we ask our viewers and our judges not to consider audio and visual quality, they still will if it's difficult to understand or if they can't see you because the camera's so poor, like the lighting's terrible and it's really dark and grainy or whatever, then it's probably going to work against you. So it's always good to be in a quiet environment that's not echoey and to have good lighting in particular. Good lighting will make a huge difference, especially for lower quality, lower range and mid-range cameras. The higher range cameras are better at low light, but typically your cheaper cameras and your phones are terrible at low light. So we also have a film festival, World Monologue Film Festival, where it's like the professional version of World Monologue Games, as in the AV professional version. So we do factor in cinematography and audio visual quality and production design and all of that stuff. So you can check that out on our website if you're interested. We just finished our season a couple of months ago, so there's not going to be much happening for a little while. But yeah, World Monologue Film Festival is a thing. Now, I have some requirements here. I have been going through requirements, so let me just list these and make sure that there's nothing that I've missed here. There is no limit to how many entries that you can submit and how many entries you can get through into the regional finals or the global finals. You do have to pay for any entry other than your free one, of course, but yeah, you can submit multiple times if you'd like. Please don't do multiple versions of the same monologue. We won't accept that. We've had people in the past submit different performing the same monologue in different languages. We prefer that you don't do that because if both of them get through and then we've got one show where the same actor's performing the same monologue but in different languages, it's not great. So please do not do that. We will not put the same monologue twice into a show, even if it's different languages. But we have had a performer get 3 monologues into one show. So it certainly is possible. We've also had one performer win 2 different categories, global champion of 2 categories in one season. So you can get all the way to the top and beyond. You can perform in any language that you like. It doesn't have to be in English. We have had 3 of 6 category winners in our first season did not perform in English, and every year there have been performers on the podium, first, second, and third, somewhere, not performing in English. What's really interesting is that we've looked at the numbers, and the English versus non-English performances are just as likely to make it through into the regionals and the global finals. So there isn't a bias or a penalty if you choose to perform in a language other than English. Yeah, we've noticed that it's really about the quality. We ask our judging panel if they're comfortable judging non-English performances, and some of them don't want to do it, which is absolutely fine. So we just will only give them shows where all of the performers are using English. But many of our judges are comfortable to to assess any language as well. So yeah, what we've noticed is that the performances that get through, it's really just the best quality performances. It doesn't matter what language they're speaking. And again, we've had some winners performing, non-English monologues, and some of those have been absolutely brilliant. So viewers and judges are pretty good at evaluating how good your acting is, irrespective of the language that you are performing in. In terms of timing, our time limits are very strict. So if it's your main pro or main amateur or youth or tigers category, it's 1 to 2.5 minutes. If your monologue is 58 seconds long, it will be disqualified. If it's 2 minutes and 32 seconds, it will be disqualified. We do give 1 second of grace because YouTube sometimes rounds up and rounds down, but that's the only reason. So if you've done a performance that's it's 59 seconds on your device when you film it and you upload it, it's probably going to get disqualified. So don't do it. Just make sure it fits within the time limit. Timing starts from when the acting starts as well, so you can't just like stare off into the distance at the end of the piece just to pad that time, and then you're like, yep, great, I'll just I'll submit my 55-second monologue with 7 seconds of staring at the end so that it fits the time limit. You can't do that. So the timing starts when the acting starts, and that doesn't mean that you're verbalizing. Acting is also non-verbal. Can be non-verbal, of course. But again, yeah, you can't just kind of do nothing and pad the time. That won't be accepted. Do also bear in mind that you shouldn't just like cut the monologue off like right at the end. A lot of actors do this. It's very frustrating because when we it doesn't matter as much for the qualifiers, but when we're broadcasting your performance, say at the regional finals, if it's cut off at the end, well, we lose that ending and it looks unnatural. If there's a problem with the time limit, we can cut it. We can cut it really tight, but we just don't want it to be sort of like last word and then curtains the instant that the last syllable comes out of your mouth. So give it a bit of breathing space at the start and end if you can. That'd be really great. I mentioned that it needs to be one continuous take. I have not mentioned that you cannot use music. Do not use titles, introductions, subtitles, graphics, anything like that. Just acting. You're very welcome to clean the sound if you can use a sound filter, a sound cleaning filter, like through DaVinci or Audacity. If you'd like to do that, you're very welcome to do it, or any other software, of course. You can adjust the color if you want to. So you can do those basic kind of post-production things, but you can't have any cuts, basically. I've already mentioned this, but I'll repeat it. No off-screen voices, no silent bodies, no scene partners, no extras, no voiceovers, whether it's your voice or someone else. It's just you performing, and that's it. You can have camera movement or it can be static. That is up to you. And once again, remember that you must get permission from the copyright holder because that is copyright law. In terms of going to the regional finals, if you are accepted after your qualifier submission, let me talk a little bit about just the sort of process here. So we have submissions open for quite some time at this point. There's the late deadline on the 25th of July. And we do not finalise judging until after that date. Obviously, we get all of the final submissions, we send them to the judges. They need a little bit of time to review them. We need a little bit of time to process all of the scores. We've got to put them into the system, etc. So it's usually, let's say, about 2 weeks or maybe a little bit sooner after the late deadline, where we advise everybody as to whether or not they have made it through to the regional finals. Do bear in mind that you could make multiple submissions and some of them make the regionals and some of them do not. So in terms of the timing, yeah, early August, we should be advising people whether or not they've made it through. Now, I mentioned that we'll do as many shows as we have good performances, essentially. So depending on the number of submissions and the regions from which they submit, we then determine the number of shows. So it's really impossible for us to give you a sense for when the dates of these performances will be, because we don't even know how many we're doing. And this is always going to be the case every year. We don't have a predefined number of performers that we put through. We base it off the entries that we receive in that season. So we'll advise you as quickly as we can when your performance dates will be, whether that's for the regionals or the globals. If you go onto the timeline, pardon me, page of our website, you'll see we've got a rough time frame. So the regionals will most likely start at the beginning of September, sometime around then, maybe late August, maybe mid-September, but probably around about the end of August, the beginning of September. And I don't know how long they'll run for because I don't know how many submissions we'll receive and how many shows we'll do. We might even, sometimes we have two regions within one country. So 2 years ago, 2 seasons ago, we had a lot of Canadians submit and we had a lot of Aussies submit as well. So we did a show for Toronto and then for the rest of Canada, I think. And then we did a show for Sydney and for the rest of Australia. Um, from memory, that's how we split it up. But yeah, it's perfect. It's totally possible that your region will be a city, a country, or it could be a series of countries, for example. Like the regions are often an aggregation of like countries in Asia and India and the Middle East. It just depends how many submissions we receive from different countries and what the judges give them as scores and how many shows we're doing and all of that. So it's always very different. It's always, we can't predict it at the beginning. Um, Last year we cut down the number of endurance shows that we did. We will be keeping it as a smaller season again for endurance. Not to discourage people from doing the endurance category. The endurance is a very difficult challenge with a 5 to 10 minute monologue. However, it is when we have a lot of submissions, these become very long shows for our viewers and engagement drops. When the show is too long, engagement actually drops. And we don't want to do a season with tons of endurance performances. So endurance is like the most difficult category, and it's because the performance is more difficult to do, 5 to 10 minutes, but it's also quite competitive. So we don't put as many into the regionals and we don't put as many through to the globals. Sprint, on the other hand, because they're so short, we've got room for more. So we strongly encourage you to think about putting in a sprint or two this year. Even if you're doing a main pro or an endurance, do consider doing a sprint as well. We've got specials on the website. So if you're keen to do a few submissions, you can buy packs of entries. You can buy 1, 3, or 5. Maybe it's 2 as well. I think 1, 2, 3, or 5, and it becomes progressively cheaper. Let's keep talking about submissions. So if you want to get that free entry, if you're already in our system, if you've registered in the past, we have already set it up for you. If you are just watching this for the first time, you do need to register. If you go to our homepage, worldmonologuegames.com, and just fill out the registration form on that homepage, you'll get an invitation to set up your member account. And once you've done that, you get a free entry. So essentially, all of our members get a free entry. If you participated in one of the first 2 years before we had the member site, you can still sign up to become a member and get your free entry. There may be 1 or 2 people who participated in the first season but haven't been around the last little while. You just need to register on the homepage again if you're one of those OG gamers. So if you can't figure out whether or not you have a membership, you can always try to reset your password and see if it works, or just email us if you can't get it to work. but most people have a membership by now, so you can sign up, get your free entry, and start submitting. Please always check your spam folder. We just ask if you can whitelist our email address, info@artsbusinessacademy.com. That's one of our brands under Reader Entertainment, Arts Business Academy, because we do get trapped by spam filters sometimes. So once you register in particular, please check your spam folder for your member invite. And for key information, we do everything via email because there's so many people around the world, and we also put information on the member site. So make sure you're checking those sources. There is a naming convention on YouTube. So if you are submitting to World Monologue Games, you need to follow this naming convention. I am not going to say it out loud right now because you can find it in all of our emails and on the submissions page of the website, etc. A reminder that all adult submissions must be listed as public on YouTube, and all under 18 submissions must be listed as unlisted on YouTube. Do also consider maybe giving a shout out to your writer or any collaborators in the description of the video, not the title, but the description in YouTube. That's where you can say, name the monologue and the author and anyone who helped you, film or whatever. That's the appropriate place. So the submissions can be made via our website. I'll just give you a quick look. So this is the member homepage, and also do bear in mind, you can see there's news. There's no news published at the moment. We'll put a news article up there. Do bear in mind that we are in the middle of overhauling the website. So sometime during the season, we'll get a few new features and some prettier graphics. It's quite functional at the moment. It's not very beautiful, so we'll be just jazzing it up a little bit. But here under this submit header here, you can see there is a how to WMG page, which has got all of the rules and information, and then you've got this submission form. So if you go here, you can find more details on how to submit. This short video here that's loading on the page is just some very basic information. Here's some more information as well. So make sure you're reading that stuff. Here you can see the naming convention that I talked about before. Do make sure that you're reading all of this stuff before you make your submission, because we don't like disqualifying people. We also have a shop on this website since I'm here. So this is where you can purchase your extra entries. We also have some specials if you'd like to buy monologues. So there's some sprint monologues and a multi-pack and this 100 monologue bundle, which is pretty cool. You get 4 publications of 25 monologues each for $24.99 US, which is pretty good. That's like 25 cents per monologue. Okie dokie. So where are we now? Always remember the time zones. We are an international event, and of course we have deadlines. Those deadlines are always based on Sydney, Australia's time zone. Bearing in mind, Sydney, Australia is ahead of most of the world. So if you're in the US, what is midnight in Sydney, Australia could be like early in the morning for you the day before. So we're often ahead sometimes by as much as 16 hours. I think if you're on the west coast of the US or the other Americas, of course, then there can be quite a big time difference. So make sure you take that into account when you're looking at your submissions and performance dates. I strongly encourage you to submit 24 hours before the deadline, no matter where you are, and that way you don't, get it wrong and mess up and submit late. If you miss the deadline, our system does it automatically. It changes over from normal mode to late deadline mode. It cancels the submissions instantly, and we can't add them back in. You'll have to purchase a new one. Likewise, after the late deadline, it just cuts it off and that's it. We will not accept any late submissions. We already give 3 weeks for a late deadline, so unfortunately, it's just too late at that point. We need to make sure our judges are getting the submissions and have plenty of time to evaluate them, and then we can run our season. If we take late submissions, everybody is delayed, so we're not going to do that. What else can I say? Look, I think just the simple conclusion is just make sure you read the terms and conditions and the how to WMG page, just to make sure that you're getting all those details right. I feel like it's reasonably straightforward, but sometimes people want to do things a little bit different or a little bit creative, and that's where you can potentially risk, you know, doing something that's against the guidelines, and we really don't want to disqualify you. So yeah, please just check those submissions carefully. Um, I was going to talk a bit about the like submissions for regionals and globals. I'm not going to do that. I think we can talk about that with those people who make it through to the next rounds. We always run extra info sessions, so I'll just move on for now, just because I can see that it's almost been an hour. Um, let's talk about prizes briefly. So we have $3,000 of cash to distribute amongst our top 3 performers in each of the 6 categories. So 18 lucky winners or skilled winners will receive cash prizes courtesy of Undo Redo Entertainment. So we are putting up the cash prize money ourselves. A huge shout out to our generous past winners who have recycled their prize money into next year's event. That's very, very generous. We've had a few people do that now. And it means that we're able to continue offering these nice cash prizes. You do need to claim your prize within 4 weeks. If you are a winner, we will send you information about that if it comes to that. But just to set the expectation, we don't want to have a debt going over our heads for forever because you haven't sent us your details. So you've got 4 weeks, which is a very reasonable amount of time to provide us your details, and then we can send you your prize money. If you would like to sponsor the event, if you're watching this and you happen to have a business or anything that you could potentially be a sponsor for World Monologue Games, we'd love to talk to you. We have a very big audience, and basically we get over 1 million digital touch points when you factor in viewers on the event and our website views, our email opens, social media. It's great exposure, so we are always keen to get more value. Prizes are particularly good, or cash is really good. So talk to us if you are a potential sponsor. I talked about the rankings. I've got some extra notes here, so I'll just note one extra thing that I didn't say so far, which is if you're moving to a new category, you do not carry your ranking points from the old category. So if you've moved from Tigers to Youth, or Youth to Adult categories, or if you were in the main amateur category and now you move to the main professional category, you can't take your points with you. The maths just doesn't work. The calculations become impossible. But also it's a new category, so you're competing with different people, different ages, all of that stuff. So it's starting again in a new category. If you're competing in multiple categories like sprint and endurance and main pro, you do carry your points within those categories into those same categories each year. Hopefully that makes sense. I've already talked about the achievements. I've already talked about the shop. I will not repeat that. Publicity. This is really an interesting point. World Monologue Games gets quite a lot of media attention every year. So we provide a media release to all of our participants who make it through to the regional finals, and they can submit those media releases to their local media, their local newspaper or their radio station, and we get a lot of interest that way. So if you do make it through to the regionals, have a think about filling out the media release and sending it off to your local paper or your local radio station, because there's a very good chance that you will get a story. We have now had something like 220 something stories in 26 countries, which is really, really cool. We are very close to the end of this session, so if anyone's watching and has questions, please put them into the live chat now, and I can very happily answer them. If you're watching this later, please send us an email. That's always the best way to reach us. We're very responsive via email. We tend to reply to them pretty quickly, and we kind of work 7 days a week. So you might send it in the middle of our night if you're from a different time zone. Sometimes we're getting emails at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. We're obviously not going to reply to those, but we'll get back to you as quickly as we can. What other things can I say? We have workshops at World Monologue Games. We have one coming up very soon on Friday week, 10 days from now, which is upskill your smartphone self-tapes. This is going to be really, really great. We're partnering with Smartphone Flick Fest, or SF3 as they're called. SF3 is one of the best smartphone film festivals in the world. It's Australia's leading smartphone film festival, run by Angela Blake, who will be delivering this workshop. If you go to worldmonologuegames.com/workshop, which Lisa will put into the chat, you can sign up. This is done virtually over Zoom. It's on, I believe, Friday the 16th at 8 p.m. AEST or Sydney, Australia time. We'd love to have you along. We just ask that you make sure you check the time zone and you can come along before you register. It is free, but what we don't want is for people to register and not turn up and then for someone to miss out. I did also mention our challenges program, so that is open for the year. We have a few different challenges, and you can find that on our website. Both the member page and the public website have more information about that. Last Man Standing is something that you might want to consider. It's really, really fun. Now, we are very, very close to the end now, so if there's any questions, I hope you putting them into the chat. There's a link from Lisa on worldmonologuegames.com/workshop if you would like to attend the Upskill Your Smartphone Self-Tapes workshop next week. Please click on that link and sign up. We will run other workshops as well from time to time, so keep an eye on that page. We will always advertise our new stuff there, as well as via email and on our social media. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. We try to monitor all of these pretty regularly, so we'll always respond there, but email is the best way to reach us. That is the avenue we are most responsive on. Look, guys, it's been an hour. I've said quite a lot of information. Hopefully that answers all of your questions, but if you have any more, please reach out to us. Email is great. Any other means, we'll do our best. Thanks very much for turning up and listening, and I'm very excited to see you at World Monologue Games this year. It's going to be another great season. I think we're getting a lot of submissions early on already, so I'm expecting we might have a pretty decent sized season. That remains to be seen, but yeah, we'd love to have you get involved. Feel free to to send us a submission, think about putting in a sprint, tell your friends. We'd love to have as many people as possible get involved. We are an open door. We're here to support people and to give you a platform. So yeah, we'd love to have you involved. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you at World Monologue Games. See you later.